using the land trust. All right, so we're buying the property subject to using the land trust. How do we get the seller to agree? How do you get the seller to agree to do this? And how and do you recognize the fact? Okay, so first of all, how do you get the seller to do it? You get the seller to do it, and we're gonna, before I get ahead of myself, I get the seller to do it by what I call, something that I call form. I want you to write the word form down if you've never heard me talk about it before. Form, the acronym form, F-O-R-M, form. Friends, occupation, recreation, motivation / money. Write it down. Friends, occupation, recreation, motivation / money. That's the acronym form. You remember that. Because guys, I don't care whether it's subject to or whatever it is you're doing. If you use that in your business, you're going to be much more successful than what you're doing right now. So what we're doing when we go out and meet with the seller, we're trying to connect in one of those areas. We're trying to connect as friends. We're trying to connect occupationally. Maybe we share like occupations. We're going to try to connect recreationally. And then we're going to establish their motivation. All right. We're going to establish their motivation before we start talking about the money. All right. So some of you seen me do this before. I must do this the best I can here. You guys aren't live. Many of us make one of the biggest mistakes. I want you to understand something, guys, is that one of the biggest things that we have to overcome as investors, guys, is the stigma that is placed on us that we're there to prey on people and take advantage of people. All right. So there's two things you can write these down. There's two things that you need to be aware of when you're dealing with sellers. Number one, they've been told about y'all. They have been told already that if you list with those we buy houses type of people, or if you talk to those we buy houses type of people, they're not going to give you nothing for your house. Your house worth $100,000, they're going to try to give you $50,000. They've already been told that. Number two, all right, is that, again, they're scared. These people are afraid. They're not used to, you're in the business every day. These people, like I said, may own 1 or 2 properties in their lifetime. So they're afraid they're going to make a mistake when they're dealing with you. So right away, you're dealing with an individual that has their guard up. So it's our objective to put their guard down so that they can relax and be comfortable with us. And actually, that starts with the initial phone call. You want to make them comfortable. When you get to the house, you set the appointment, you go to the house, you knock on the door, ring the doorbell, whatever you're going to do. I'm going to tell you, back off the doorstep, particularly for some of us. If you feel like, you're looking intimidating, you don't want to be standing up in the middle of people's, they open the door and you standing up right in their face. So I typically like to walk away, bald-head African-American man. I'm going to take 4 or 5 steps back off the doorstep. And when they open the door, all right, I'm walking up. Hey, Frank, how you doing? I'm Tony Robinson. Thank you for inviting me over to take a look at your home. I want to make them, I'm saying I didn't just show up. You invited me here. I'm stating the obvious. All right. Thank you for inviting me here. All right. And then many of you that have had experience already with sellers, there's an awkward feeling as you're sitting there in the foyer area. There's an awkward feeling as you're sitting there, they're trying to decide what you want to do, or, if some of you haven't done it before, you haven't been talking or interacting with sellers. So you're sitting there, standing there, not knowing what to do. They don't know what you actually want to see or do. So there's a little awkwardness there. So, you're standing there in the hallway and they say, well, what do you want to see? Or should we go in the living room? You want to go in the living room and talk about this? Let me tell you something right now. If you take your butt in that living room, don't even look here. Just go ahead and pack up your bags and go into the house. All right, you hear what I just said? If you walk in the house and the seller says, do you want to go in the living room and talk about it? You're going to go in the living room and sit down on the couch. You just lost half the deal. You just lost half of your ability to be able to impact that transaction. Okay, because what you're gonna do? You're gonna walk in there and you're gonna sit down, and they're gonna be looking for you to tell them what you're getting ready to do. How much money we're gonna end up talking about money in 3 to 5 minutes. Okay, so you don't want to do that. The other thing you don't want to do is you don't want to sell to say, go ahead and take a look around. If you want to look at the house, go ahead and take a look around. And then they go walk in the living room and sit down and start watching TV. You don't want to do that. You want to be engaging with the seller. Okay, so when that seller, when the seller's standing there and whatever, ask you, so what do you want to see? You want to go in the living room? No, Frank, why don't you just give me the 50-cent tour? Give me the 50-cent tour, and I like to make a little like a little joke out of it. Yeah, just give me the 50-cent tour. If they want to go walk in there, I'd rather you, if you don't mind, if you just walk with me and kind of maybe you can tell me a little bit about the house and what's going on. I want them walking with me. Okay, because as we're walking around that house, I'm going to be talking to them. I'm going to be engaging with them throughout the whole process. I want to be asking some questions. Everything I see in that house, guys, is going to be about connecting. I see a plaque on the wall that somebody was in the Air Force, or they're in the Marines, or they're in the Army. I'm going to be connecting. Oh, who was in the Army? Oh, you were in the military? What branch of service you was in? I was in the 82nd Airborne down in Fort Bragg. Yeah, you do what? Oh man, y'all Navy guys, I'm trying to connect. All right, I want to be connecting with that person. I want them to get to meet it. I want them to be my friend. Okay, so I'm trying to connect. All right, and so then as we're going through, if you see some pictures of their kids on the wall or whatever, hey, those your kids? Yeah, okay, how old are they? Yeah, I got 3 kids too. And you want to have conversation, dialogue, guys, make it personal. The more time you spend connecting, guys, the easier it is for you to negotiate, and the easier it will be for you to come up with some of these crazy strategies you're going to be introducing to them. And they're going to be more acceptable to them. Most of us make the biggest mistake that a lot of investors make, guys, is this is what we do. If you can see me, we walk in the house. So you arrived on the front porch with your pen behind your ear. And you got there to inspect. You came to inspect. Pen behind your ear. You going up in the house. You just barely introduced yourself, shook your head, walked in the house, and start walking around telling them about everything bad. You got your notepad out, looking at the Kool-Aid stain on the carpet. All right, we're going to look at the Kool-Aid stain. We walk around, we look. Okay, the roof has been leaking, right? And we see the big old water spout in the ceiling, and we want to sit there, and we got to make sure that the seller knows we see it, right? So we sitting there looking at the ceiling. Okay, he knows that the Kool-Aid stain is on the floor. He knows that the roof is leaking. You don't have to try to impress him with that. You don't have to try to beat him with a hammer. All right, then you're walking around. Go in the bathroom. All right. You see that? Looks like there's a water leak around the toilet. So we got to be jumping up and down. See whether or not the floorboards are loose. Okay. What you're doing is you're trying your best to get the Jazzy Jeff that you saw earlier. You're trying to get thrown out. You need to spend that time connecting. That is not the time to be criticizing somebody about their property. They live in it every day. They know that their property's in bad shape. I don't have to impress it upon them. There will come a time for that. All right. So you're trying to connect in every way, shape, or form. You walk out in the garage, you see some fishing poles sitting in the garage. You see a boat out there in the backyard. Oh man, you fish? Where you fish at? What lake? Oh man, we go there all the time. Yeah, when the last time you been? I went with my son 2 weeks ago. Yeah. I want to be engaging with this person, guys. You have to engage with them. This is the sales process. And so what you're doing is connecting. This is about connecting. The more you connect, the easier it's going to be when you get to the part where we start talking about when we transition from form to pen, presentation, education, and negotiation. All right. So what we're going to do right now, here in the next second, is, guys, I'm going to play something for you. Once you look at that, and then when we come back, we're going to continue on. So we're not taking a break just yet. Going to roll a videotape here just shortly. And what you're going to do is you're going to just look at this tape, and we're going to talk about what we're doing there when we get back live.